Hi, Abhishek. I'm
All
going
right.
to pause.
Hey guys, it's really good to see you all guys here. And so I have been, since my childhood, I have been into visual arts in some way or the other. So I used to sketch a lot when I was a kid, and kind of, I think the same thing has transformed into photography when I grew up. And I was fascinated with nature, and I used to do a lot of nature photography. So this is something. So I'm a techie background, so I worked for over a decade in IT. And in parallel, I used to just take my cameras out in the woods, take pictures of, mountains, lakes, birds, and, other wildlife. And gradually I, shifted to taking pictures of people as well, and, then I started getting paid by that because, that's a field in which you can make money if you do like event photography, wedding photography, fashion. So I kind of explored like more or less all the fields in photography. I've done some food photography also, product photography also. But I stuck with weddings and nature. So nature is something very close to my heart, and I do it like mostly. I do workshops, and I do some projects also. Like I'm working on a documentary as well. And weddings, I started shooting weddings like almost 9 years ago. And so I formed a company, and I started working in the US first when I was working on another IT role. And then I moved to India, then I started taking weddings even more seriously. And that's how I got into photography. And so today, so we are not going to dive into like much technical sessions. I want to keep it very simple. We're just going to talk about composition and how you can make your pictures better. It doesn't matter what kind of camera you use. So you can still apply all the rules that I'm going to tell you today. So it's, even if you use a phone also, you can try those out. So the idea is, so I'll go through 8 rules, that most of the times I always keep in mind. And there are many rules, beyond that also, but these 8 rules that I always keep in mind when I frame a picture. And so we talk about that, and then we can maybe use some examples. So what we can do is, so you'll have some time. So it's going to be like an assignment. So it's going to be interesting. You can just use whatever you have in your house, or maybe you can work with some people in your house, your family, or anybody. Or if you have pets, you can work with your pets and take some pictures, and then we're going to discuss it after the break. And then I can tell you, what you did right, or what improvements can be done, or anything's, I can just critique your pictures. So yeah, so this is going to be a session, and as Prerna said, if anybody wants to share any of your work and that you have done recently, or if you are trying to shift from like phone photography to a camera, or going to a professional level, so just please feel free to share that with me, and I'll be more than happy to comment on it.
Thank you, Abhishek. That was a great introduction. I mean, it's quite actually Abhishek's journey is very interesting. That how he has moved from being a techie into now actually professional photographer, and he makes his living from that now. And took a plunge from living in the US, being very successful as an IT professional, and now getting into something like this. And I think Abhishek spends he divides his time in Goa and Gurgaon, I think, and then of course his projects.
Right.
So that's I mean, I find it very inspiring. Okay, so we have a lot of people here. Thank you everyone for joining in on Saturday afternoon. I would really like, I see a lot of faces. Of course, we meet often. Hi, Reshma, Manish, David, all of you guys. Let's do a quick round of introduction. we'd like you to turn on your cameras. You can turn it off later during the session if you're not comfortable to keep it on for long. But it'll be great to turn on for some time, and let's connect with each other. Anyone can start, share where you're joining from, what do you do, and what brings you here today, what kind of art you do, if you do any photography, and if you like to share anything, you can go ahead and share on screen. So please start. Who wants to go first? We have Manish and Reshma. Yes, Reshma.
Okay, okay. I just started with my new camera. I just got a mirrorless Sony camera as recommended by Abhishek, and just took some small pictures, but I don't know how to share it here because I am not familiar with all this things. So I'm just learning, like very much amateur, I can say.
Yeah, so Reshma actually took one of our photography course. We did a 2-day workshop with Abhishek a few months ago, and Reshma was part of it actually. So it's great, Reshma. Finally, you've started.
Yeah, thank you.
The professional camera. I remember your pictures. So we'll go through. Anyway, we're going to do a small workshop now with Abhishek. So we will go through images. So that'll be great. I think we have Manish. Where is Manish? Manish, do
Hi,
you want to go next?
hi
Hi.
guys. I think I've joined some of the art circles talks before, so I'll probably go very quick. I'm an architect. I'm an urban designer. I worked as a urban planner last in Singapore government. Right now, I'm working on an art career and almost like a mid-career switch. Sorry, I joined a bit late. I couldn't hear the whole story of Abhishek, but maybe I can take a lesson of you from him, how to stay inspired. It's almost like a one-man journey. And currently, I'm trying to get to be a oil painting professional artist. That's what I'm working on right now. And the reason I joined the class today is because although I know photography a bit, but it was always like self-learning. I never actually joined any workshop. I bought a lot of gear, but almost did everything on my own. I think there's a lot to learn from others, and I'm very excited to hear about the 8 rules of photography.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Manish. Thank you. David, do you want to go ahead, tell everyone about yourself and what kind of photography do you do?
Okay, I'm from the UK. I'm based now living in Singapore. I was a keen amateur photographer quite some years ago, and before it all went digital. And the digital revolution kind of spoiled it for me. I used to use slide film most of the time, and went to join an amateur club, used to do competitions. But I found the digital, when that took over, it made the whole thing frankly unfair. So now don't even get involved in any competitions or clubs anymore, but I want to get back into the enjoyment of taking good photography, good photographs, and getting away from the automatic part.
And what kind of photography do you do? Landscape or?
Oh yeah, there isn't any particular kind. I always used to enjoy the idea of a session where, and sometimes in meetup groups, where you go and the target is to do whatever is dictated at the time. So you'll do streets or graphic stuff or whatever. Just basically, it's the same. I mean, as your guy, you'd know. There's 1,000 good photographs in any room. You've just got to find it, and it's not that difficult to find. So anything. I like graphic. I like nature. Candid. Where it comes to people, I prefer it candid. I don't mean that in a bad sense, but I think the worst photographs for me are the pose and the selfie stuff. Candid. Natural is more natural. It really looks fabulous in people.
Yeah.
Right. Can agree more. Yeah.
Great. Cool. Okay. Who would go next? Shraddha, I see you there.
Hi. Hi, everybody. This is my second meetup with the art circle, and I just am interested in arts. I just passed out of my master's degree, and I'm just like a semi-student working part-time. And I love the arts. So in general, just exploring all kinds of arts. The last workshop I did was for water paints, and I think I just want to explore photography as well.
And what did you do your master's in, your studies?
I did it in gender studies,
Gender studies. Okay. From where?
Pune University.
Yeah, I see. Great. Cool. Okay. Have you done any kind of photography or maybe phone
Yeah, so
photography?
I did my undergraduate in journalism. So I
Okay.
had to do a lot of photography for that. It was a part vocational course. So there was a lot of video and photography involved in the course. So I used to do it, but it was not as such professional in the sense that it was more for the news media and not for an audience, not for an entertainment purpose, so to say.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
So,
It's amazing. So many interesting people in the session. Um, okay. Who would go next? We have Cassandra. Yes, Cassandra. Please go ahead.
Cassandra. Good afternoon. I'm Cassandra. I'm from Goa, and but I'm pursuing journalism honors, as Shraddha mentioned, but in Christ University, Bangalore. So I'm currently in Bangalore. I actually enjoy photography. I was fortunate enough to get my DSLR in eighth grade. I do a lot of photography. I don't prefer portraits. I'm more into like nature photography and abstract concepts. But yeah, that's yeah. I enjoy photography.
Do you like to show something? You can share your screen if you want to on your phone.
Yeah, sure.
oh, that's cool. A dragonfly with diagonal lines. This is, one of the composition rule I was going to talk about. So it's good.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah, so this is a portfolio I had to create for, as Shraddha also mentioned, we have photography as a subject. So these are just some of my favorite photographs. So since I didn't restrict it to just academics, I just kept like a photography portfolio in general. So it's themed around art for art's sake. And it's a lot of nature photography and also a few concepts of science and just art in general. So all these photographs of mine, some of them have been edited a little bit. And so this is cycle of rejuvenation, as in, bloom and uh, like fallen leaves, etc. And this is fluid contrast. Oh, I'm a bird watcher. Apologies for the noise. I'm a bird watcher, so I click a lot of bird photographs, etc. So these are my favorite birds, the hornbills, and this is a wood spider. This is a refraction experiment. So I actually converted my room into like a studio, and I took like a laser and oops, sorry. Uh, yes, where was that? Here. I took like a laser and yeah, shot this. Um, yeah, then these are just random photographs which I like. This was a photograph I won a state level competition for, Bottleneck to Progress. So the theme was, I've forgotten the theme. I think the theme was night photography in Goa. But so it was a selection of photographs I submitted. This one was the one that won, and these were the other two. And then this is a web. These are just random photographs, sand, textures. I like textures and colors that way. So, and this was a concept reliving history through a book. So when I went to Blossoms recently, I went nuts. I love Blossoms, so I just like into like history and etc. So yeah, would study at Cubbon Park. and this was in Goa. This was in Rajasthan, and fan pictures from Goa. And yeah, these are just other photographs. And this one is a photo I really like. I clicked it on a Moto E in like 2016 or something, and the camera was horrible, but like I was just fortunate enough to get to see the sight, the moon just perfectly aligned. So that's one of my favorite photographs. And yeah, I've like attached captions and stuff, but yes, that's mine.
This is really beautiful. Your portfolio looks really good. Good range of collection
Thank you,
already. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Cassandra. Thanks for sharing this. Who would want to go next? I think we'll take a couple of more introductions and then we'll start with the workshop. And then obviously we'll keep talking during the session, so everybody will get a chance to, share their work or connect with us. I think we have Prateek Shetter. Prateek, I think you wanted to share your screen and show some work. Do you want to turn on your camera and talk? Uh, Prateek, are you there? Hi, yeah, Prateek. We can't hear you, Prateek. Prateek, so you figure it out. We'll take you later. Is there someone else besides Prateek? Shyam, do you want to share something further with everybody?
Oh, yes, because for the first time, that was almost 10 years back, I purchased a Canon 70. So I wanted to try my hand in street photography. So when I was in London in 2015, I took some pictures. Let me share. I hope everybody is able to see the screen.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
There's one girl playing music. Just opposite the modern art studio. So yeah, this is for today.
It's nice, interesting stuff. What kind of lens were you using with this? With this technique?
In fact, I mean, the default lens that I got along with the M70 that I use it, but later I got the extra zoom lens and the macro. But honestly, what I can say, there's a lot of gap, almost 3-4 years.
Right.
Now I got some time slowly. I try to get into that again.
Sure.
Great. Thanks, Manish, for sharing this. Okay, cool. So is there anyone else? Otherwise, we will go ahead if Prateek is rejoining. Swati, do you like to turn on your camera and talk about what you do?
Hello, hi everyone.
Hi.
So basically, I'm an artist and I do love pictures and photography, nature photography in particular. But I'm not a photographer per se. I'm here to learn a tip or two technicalities of taking pictures, how to visualize something from a lens point of view and take better pictures. So that's what brought me here. Looking forward to some tips from you, Abhishek.
That's great.
Sure, definitely.
Okay, thanks, Swati. Prateek, are you set? Do you like to share something? Okay, I think.
Yeah, is this audible now?
Yeah, you are audible. Yeah.
Sure. Just a minute.
But we can't see your screen at all, or yourself.
I just stopped. Is this visible now?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, this is my new phone, so I don't have much photos now. So
And what do you
This is
do,
a-
Pratik? Where are you joining from? What do you
yeah, I'm from Bangalore, Karnataka.
do? Okay.
Yeah, actually, I work as an embedded engineer in Bangalore itself. Recently, I started my journey,
I see.
and yeah, this is actually I used a cyberpunk filter for this.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is a traffic. Yeah, low. I'll actually allow a straight photography and most probably monochrome or a low light.
Cool. Okay. Thanks,
Thanks.
Pratik. Thanks for sharing these. Let us start, Abhishek, with our workshop, and then we'll keep talking during the session. We have a lot of people. Definitely like to cover everyone. We have Miss Manisha also here in the call. She's turned on her camera, and we'll come back to you also during the session. So cool. Okay. All right. Over to you, Abhishek.
Okay, sounds good. So it's very interesting to see a lot of people into street photography. I think it's the easy access also because that's the kind of photography you can just go anywhere and start shooting. And, similar thing with macro as well. You can just go to your backyard and there are like tons of subjects to shoot in macro photography. Whereas if you want to do like fashion photography, you need to find a model first. And there's like other photographies, like if you're into birding as well, you can do a lot of bird photography around in your neighborhood. So anyway, so we are going to talk about composition today. So what is composition? Composition is what your camera sees in the frame. So and also what your audience sees. So whatever picture you're taking, all the components in the pictures make a composition. And there are a few rules to make your composition more interesting. And if you have to take a picture of a subject, normally you just point at the subject and take a picture. But if you take a few seconds to just think about, how are you going to frame it, the angle you're going to shoot from, and what you're going to include in the frame and what you're going to exclude in the frame. Also be, also the background, what background you're going to shoot. Because sometimes what happens is you take a picture and you see like a very busy background and you just move maybe one step on the side, you can just change the background drastically, and backgrounds can make or break your pictures most of the times. So let's go through these. I'm just going to share my slide. We'll just go through one of the rules. I'll show you some examples also. Okay, so are you able to see my screen now?
Abhishek, no, not yet.
Okay.
We see only you. You will have to share your screen. Yeah. You can see it now.
Okay, cool. So there are many rules, which you can use or choose not to use also to make pictures. But we're just going to go through some 8 rules, which I think are kind of important to know those rules. And then it's up to you want to use them or you're not going to use them. But which rule you want to use in a different situation. So we just start with rule of thirds, which is very famous. Most of the people would already be aware of this rule. And all the rules that we're going to discuss, you can, even if you don't have a camera, you're just doing phone photography, you can use these rules and implement these. So rule of thirds is basically keeping your point of interest or your subject on one of these lines. So if you just make a frame and in your mind, you just have these horizontal and vertical lines, wherever these lines are crossing. So you keep the subject here. So what it does is it makes the picture more interesting. So like, for example, in this picture, it tells a little bit more about the subject, where the subject is seeing, where the model is seeing, and what the way the model is feeling, and also shows the environment a little bit, where the person is standing with some negative space. So this is, if you see like a lot of pictures, the rule of thirds is followed there. And even if you watch any movies also, you'll see, sometimes you'll see like there's always some space in front of the model. And like, for example, in this also, so the rule of third is followed. So basically, if I go back to this slide, so you can place your, according to rule of thirds, you can place your point of interest on this corner, this one. So basically there are like 4 points in a frame. So so this is not always true that you have to follow this rule. Like, like I said, in different situation, you'll have a different rule. So our next rule is like very opposite to this rule, in which you center your subject. So you see like a lot of times the subject is totally centered. Why would you choose a subject in center versus rule of thirds when you want your audience to focus on the subject, nothing else? Like you want your audience to really focus on the subject. So here you cannot ignore the subject. There is no way you can ignore the subject, right? It's just like looking straight at you. So sometimes you have to tell a story in which you have to make your subject the most prominent. You don't want the attention to go towards the background much or the negative space, but towards the subject. So these kind of rules, you can, again, like I said, you can apply based on situation. Like if you want to tell a story in which you have to give importance to the subject and nothing else, versus if I go back to this, in this subject, again, in rule of thirds, it's also, kind of telling, where the model is, about the environment, the location, and, where the model is looking as well. So like, for example, sometimes you see the centered, when you center your subject. So sometimes you see that it's like really uptight and close, right? So that's when you actually, leave very less background, versus like in this picture, there is some background also. You can see, where this model is standing, and this is like really close, tight frame. And so again, like I said, so if the subject is taking more space in the frame, so it means it's getting like more attention. So you cannot ignore the subject. So if I close, if I make this frame even more closer, let's say, I crop it, almost, entire face, and, zoom into this monkey's eyes, then obviously, we cannot look anywhere else. So we're just forcing the audience to look exactly at the subject. So these are the 2 rules, which most of people are already familiar with. So whenever you take a picture, if you keep in mind, what is the desired result you want to show to your audience, and, frame the picture accordingly. So there is another thing, what happens when you center your subject. So you get a sense of symmetry. So like, human eyes are very used to seeing symmetry. It's very pleasing when you see symmetry, and you can, for some reason, anything centered, feels or looks really good to you as well. So it's because it's symmetrical. So another rule, that, or a tip, I would say that, sometimes you can use is a repetition. So sometimes you're shooting some objects, in a line, which are repeating, that makes your picture look more interesting. And especially, when you have like more than one subject. So it could be either, doesn't have to be, like more than two subjects. It can be like two subjects also, like it's the same thing, but it's repeating. If you see this class, so one is in focus and one is out of focus, but just repetition, sometimes makes it like more interesting. Like, for example, if you're taking pictures of birds also, sometimes there are two birds sitting on one perch, so it makes it look more interesting than, a single bird. So this is another rule, which you can use to make, like, you can find these kind of things. Like, for example, if you go if you're taking pictures outside, sometimes there will be trees in a row. You can even place your subject in some repetition frame. Like if you're shooting a model, you just place your subject between those trees where like the trees are in a row. So it will just add some repetition to your frames, which will make it look more interesting. We're talking about symmetry first. So like like I said, when you center your subject, you kind of give a symmetry to your audience in which, it's more pleasing to your eyes. And also symmetry, like in this frame, you see there are these leading lines also, which is in this, you see this cottage is very centered. And if you see, the frame is very even and symmetrical from both the sides, the lines, the horizon line and everything. So this is definitely, gets like more pleasing to the eyes of your viewers.
Manish is asking if these are your picks, Abhishek. I think
Yes.
so. Yes.
These are my pictures. Yeah. So if you have any questions, any doubts regarding any of the rules I'm talking about, and if you want to ask like why we should use these and in what situations, please feel free to ask. Okay, then the fifth one is a differential focus. This is, you see in a lot of pictures in which the background is out of focus. Sometimes you just do when you don't want your audience to see the background, or there's a busy background, you want to create a bokeh, a nice background. So those kind of things can be done by differential focus. And sometimes you can also use differential focus, like for example, in this image. So the bride here is in focus, the groom is still there and looking at her, but he's out of focus. So it's, kind of giving like more weightage to the bride than the groom in this specific picture. So every picture, every composition, is every composition has a hero, which is like the main subject. Even if you see like multiple elements, like for example in this. So, but there is always a hero in every image. Like in this image, the glass, which is in the foreground, is the hero. And the things in the background, if you see the shaker, another glass, and other things in the foreground, the salt on the table, all these things are also part of the compositions, but they are not the hero. So they are, you can say, like supporting actors in when we talk about like in movies. So they're making the picture look better, they're contributing, but our hero is the glass in the foreground. Similarly here, our hero is the bride, but there are other things. There's a background, there's a groom who's like out of focus, so which are contributing to the composition. So when you take your picture, you should always know who's your hero, right? So like in some pictures, it's very obvious, right? You cannot make a mistake in finding a hero here, right? If you're taking a picture of monkey. But there could be images in which there are like more than one subjects. And let's go to this picture. So we when we see landscapes mostly, or even if you're taking portraits, so there is a foreground, there is a midground, and there's a background. So foreground is, in this image you can see these rocks. They kind of add a depth to the entire image. You can see you can see the distance, sense of distance is there, that these rocks are really close. That's why they're appearing much bigger. Then there's this lake, which is the midground, and the